Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh to some of you and peace out to the rest of you. Hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. So let me get through this as quickly as I can. Number one, this is about matchmakers. I previously uploaded about April at Atlanta and how she got out of matchmaking because just like Rebecca Lynn Pope a few years before, she couldn't make it work. And it was largely because ladies just couldn't be happy with anybody. Strong Successful Male is a European American YouTuber, and don't tell him I said this, but he's got a good channel. I need you all to help me protect my reputation. Apparently I'm a reverse racist, so I need y'all to help me stay a reverse racist in the minds of many people. So don't go telling folks that I can actually appreciate when a Wyatt makes good content. So in any case, he did make he's made several good, just today made some good pieces. I learned from him just today that while in the United States, about 33% of DNA tests come back with the questionable father not being the father. In the UK, it's 50% of them that come back wherein the man in question is not the father. I learned that earlier today. A little under an hour ago, I learned from him that a lady in Sydney, Australia, was a matchmaker until recently, and she gave up. Now, forget what article she wrote to a certain extent, because one thing we already know. Australia is so culturally similar to the United States, there's no way that in Sydney, the men were the ones who were being difficult and driving her crazy. It was the ladies. We got that out the way, right? So remember when I said that Atlanta was supposed to be better for men than other cities, according to even women's own admission. I was talking about in North America. I wasn't thinking about Sydney. This just goes to show you how bad the West is in general. Now, second thing I wanted to talk about was a TikTok video in which a lady with a green top, and you can see this on Hammerhead's Hammer Hands channel, in which one lady says, "What's an opinion that's really unpopular?" And another lady with the green top and pajama bottoms on says, "Women don't dress provocatively for their own edification and dance publicly for themselves. They're doing it for male attention and validation." Now, I knew that. Let's call it what the hell it is. But we have a confession at this point. That deception is exactly why it is that many men in the West feel that this is not a conflict but a gender war. Now, I've already said that I don't want the war to spill over into new spheres once the women of any new space say that they're really not interested in a gender war. However, I'm still aware of something, and that is that there are those who do. And this segues into the third thing I wanted to talk about. There are some ladies in that new sphere by which I told humanosphere men in my audience that do want a gender war. Now, previously, I said to one, I think that's what you're looking for. She said, if I thought more of men in general, maybe, but I just don't think enough of you men to bring about a gender war. And, well, we've had some cordial talks. We can discuss this stuff cordially, but now that I pointed out how, in fact, unfair certain viewpoints are, I'm telling you now, forget my opinion, she's looking for the gender war to be in the golden sphere, and I said it because she stays in it. But that's the honest person. That's why we can have at least respectful talks. Now, there are still some other ladies that aren't honest about this. They show the hand, but they're not honest. They get triggered if I simply mention a tit for tat, give and take. It bothers the hell out of them. One has said that she might be trolling, I don't know. But I have to go by what's most obvious. And I have to agree with multiracial movement about something. It's one of the ladies in the new sphere. She does not want this gender war. LSP doesn't want it. Even Smiles and the Twisted MD, who can't stand me for any reason, I think does not want this. Caesar Cannon definitely does not. He said as much. So that being said, I want to say to those who think that men are here to give and not take, or give without taking, or to give more than they take, who think there's not to be give and take, who think that men should take unfair situations lying down, whether you are honest about it or you're not honest about it, fit the guck out the golden space. Even if I don't qualify to be in the space, fine, leave them the hell alone. If they kick me out tomorrow, because they don't believe what I say about them being right, or they don't believe I'm sincere, okay, fine. You also stay the F out. Because if you're going to be in the space, but then you insist that fairness is too much to ask for, then you're trying to bring the war in. Because what message are you going to send to the men? The initial women in that sphere did not want a golden gender war. They would like to have an offline community one day. You don't sustain those things when you can't start them, let alone sustain them when the genders are at each other's throats. Each one trying to take without giving. Each one trying to get over on the other. The men aren't calling for a situation in which we come in and we get over and then we bounce. We're not calling for something like that. We can't. Mr. Cannon wouldn't tolerate something like that. If I would, he wouldn't. And what we gonna do? Beat him up? That man came from the projects in New Orleans. I know them projects need to be played and trifled with. I'm gonna tell y'all something. The projects that are no longer there would still be standing if it had not been for an act of God. Because there's no way that the city could have done anything to those projects, take them down. Even when the city owned them, they could not have taken them down without an act of God. So if he says ain't no gender war, ain't no gender war, the men know not to bring it in. I'm telling you, I know not to do that. So, as long as you think that fairness is too much to ask for, some kind of pipe dream, it is too much to ask for from the world at large, I get it. But if you think it's too much to ask for from genders that were designed to be interested in each other and to need each other, although some would say, nope, we don't need y'all, but they generally do need each other and are designed to be interested in each other, then you're looking. Then either you want the men to stay the hell away, and if that's what you want, then say so and start a space without the dudes. Or you want a situation in which we're stuck, but we're not getting fair treatment, and that's going to start a war. Exactly what I don't want. Exactly what Mr. Cannon doesn't want. So, of course, to the one that's honest, I thank you for being honest, but you still got to make your mind up. Frankly, I don't think that you should focus on the golden sphere as much as you do in speech, because a lot of your content isn't such. But nonetheless, let's be honest, my addressing it is very new, but then again, that's when I rediscovered it, to be honest with you. But to the ones that aren't even being honest about it, you just get triggered when I say anything about a give and take. Let me come out and say straight up, fit the guck out then. You want a golden sphere, or do you just want a great place for golden women? And the men be damned. Which one is it? Because I'll tell you straight. If you are looking for a situation in which the men are supposed to stay there, build, provide, protect, no appreciation, and I'm talking about above and below the belt in a marriage, but above and below the belt, both types of appreciation. They're not supposed to ask for anything in exchange, not food, not money, not a wife, not a future. They're just supposed to produce and wait to be picked for anything. Wait to either be paid or picked, I should say. If that's the point, we're just there as workhorses, and that's all we are. Then understand something that they used to say in my father's hometown, and they really used to say this far out west. Pretty much going from, let's say, about Central Texas over out to the coast of California. In the old days, they used to say, if the horse dies, the rider dies, because they were talking about life in that desert. People could not walk through that desert themselves and survive. They had to take large supplies of water, and they had to hitch it on a cart to a horse. The horse could carry them through as long as he got to drink that water, and the rider too. But if the horse died, the rider died. This was known. And if all we ought to be is workhorses, we'll bounce. And the men that you actually decide deserve to be not workhorses, but deserve to be your pet dinglings, well, I mean, they're going to fight the war their way too. And their way is going to be to get as much punani as possible and do absolutely nothing in exchange. Just like what goes on outside. Just like what's going on, not just in the dysfunctional, what we call community we're leaving behind, not just in that, because the manosphere is leaving that behind, but what goes on in the West in general. That's what you're going to have. And it ain't going to be the men's fault. Because men are divided. Men are individuals. A lot of men will just bounce. A few men will sit around and say, well, you know what? I can still clean house, get some trim, what's the name of that dish? Nut and go? Yeah, that's what'll happen. There'll be a few of them that'll be able to do it, and they will. Most men will just bounce, and you'll have nothing that you want. There will be no construction. There will be no defense. If that's what you want, just come out and say it. Keep it online, though, for your own safety. Thanks for listening. Black Heart, Black Mind, Blackout.